أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بسيدنا ومولانا الإمام الحسين عليه السلام، وجعلنا الله وإياكم من الطالبين بثأره بين يدي الإمام المنصور المؤيد المهدي من آل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا غريب يا مظلوم يا عطشان كربلاء. After Sayyid al-Shuhada was brutally slaughtered, the enemies from the forces of Umar ibn Sa'd, the enemies of Allah, began to confiscate whatever was on the Imam, from what he was wearing to what he had on him. One of them came and approached the Imam and snatched immediately the turban he was wearing, knowing this was once worn by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and that this was the imamah, the same imamah his father Ali and the imamah that his brother Al-Hassan wore. One other man came and started to remove some of the clothes of the Imam to take for himself, although Sayyid al-Shuhada anticipated this, and so he wore extra clothing beneath. Then one man came and he saw Imam al-Hussein wearing a ring in his right hand. He wanted the ring for himself. He tried to remove it several times, but to no avail. So he pulled out the khanjar, he pulled out the dagger and severed the ring of Imam al-Hussein, severed the ring finger and took the ring of Abu Abdullah. Slowly, and they came all together, confiscating what they could. Then the enemies of Allah all gathered, waiting the next order. Soon, Umar ibn Sa'd then said, I need the horses to sharpen their hooves. Go and bring the horses and make sure you file those hooves. We will now begin the trampling over the bodies. But I first want to trample over Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, for he betrayed us and he went and joined the opposition. However, Hurr ibn Yazid was from the tribe of Banu Riyaha, and many of those members were represented on the side of Umar ibn Sa'd, and they exclaimed, Ya Umar, you already had us kill our son, do not add insult unto injury. Therefore Umar ibn Sa'd then said, then trample over the body of Habib ibn Mudahir. However, Habib was from the tribe of Banu Asad, and there were members from Banu Asad on the army of Yazid. They contested and would not allow this to happen, stating the exact same thing. You already made us kill our family. Do not add insult unto injury. One by one, they would call out, then I need you to trample over him and him. But they all had representatives on the opposition. So Umar then said, then we will now trample over the family of Hussein. O horse riders, trample over Al-Qasim. However, Al-Qasim bin Hassan, his mother was from the tribe of the Fizara, and many of them were on the side of Umar ibn Sa'd, distant relatives. They would not allow that he would be trampled, and so Umar ibn Sa'd said, then trample over the body of Aba al-Fadl al-Abbas. However, Aba al-Fadl, his mother al-Banin, was a distant relative to Shimr ibn Dhul Jawshan. And so Shimr said, I will not allow you to trample over him. And so I need you, how about trample over the body of Ali al-Akbar? However, Ali al-Akbar, his mother Layla, was the daughter of Maymuna, the sister of Muawiyah, making her the first cousin to Yazid, and Yazid would not approve if Aliul Akbar was trampled. One by one they went and asked, who is there on the field? Until Umar ibn Sa'ad then said in his famous line, who remains on the field, who his mother or his father does not have anyone to represent him on this day. They all said only one body lay on the ground. He said, who is it? They said it is the body of Hussein ibn Ali. His mother Fatima has no one on our side, nor does his father Ali. So then he said, O horse riders of Allah, Dusi ala sadr al-Hussein, trample over the chest of Hussein. And all of them mounted their horses, and they began to trample and kick the body of Imam al-Hussein. That's why if you go to Karbala, inshallah, you will see that where the Imam was killed, the madbah is different to where he is buried. That is because the horses kicked his body one side to the next. Until Umar ibn Sa'ad then said, O horse riders and O men, let us go and burn the tents of Hussein and his family. And then they made their way. They began to burn those tents. Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammadin al-Sadiq says, one day Abu Ja'far al-Mansur al-Diwaniqi had my house burnt because of his enmity to me, and they burnt my home. The next day my companions came and asked, why do we see you crying so much? Al-mawtu lakum 'ada wa karamatukum min Allahi shahada. Death is nothing to you, and you only had your house burnt. Imam al-Sadiq then said, I do not cry because of my home. I cry because when I was in the home, I saw my daughters running from room to room, avoiding the flame. This reminded me of the daughters of Abi Abdullah. I finally can see what I would only imagine. They began to burn the tents of the family. One man came to a young girl. He saw that she had 2 earrings on. He came to her and he tried to remove them. This was Khuwalla la'natullah alayh. He couldn't remove the earrings, so then he pulled them and snatched them from her ear, causing her to bleed. Another man came by the name of Hamid bin Muslim. He ran to a young girl. He saw that her dress was lit on fire, so he took out the fire with some water. This young girl looked at him and said, O stranger, O man, are you with us or are you against us? He said, I am neither with you nor against you. She said, have you ever read the Quran? He said, yes. She said, have you read the ayah, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ? As for the orphan, then do not make them sad. He said, yes. She said, Ayna yatimat Abi Abdullah. I am the orphan of Abu Abdullah. She then said to him, have you read the ayah? وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَارْ. As for the one questioning, do not reject them. He said, yes. She said, then I ask you, tell me, where is the direction of Najaf? He said, why? She said, I know I have a grandfather there. I want to complain to him. Ya Ali, where were you on this day? At that moment, they went about burning the rest of the tents. At that night, at a time like this, brothers and sisters, on the night of the 10th of Muharram, all the women were trying to comfort one another, but none could succeed. Only one lady would go to each woman and try to comfort her with success. Lady Zainab would approach Layla and give her comfort. She approached the young Sakina Ruqayya and give them comfort, and she would approach all of the women and comfort them. But I ask you, who comforted Zainab? She then saw the wife of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, by the name of Daylam. She asked her, she said to her, I see that you are holding a piece of cloth. Why do you hold it? She said, I'm trying to cover the body of my husband. He lay on the ground, and I am looking to cover his body and do not have it exposed. She gave the cloth to one of her servants. She went to the field and returned. She asked her, did you cover the body of my husband? She said, no, I didn't. She said, why? I do not see it with you. Who did you cover? She said, when I was looking for Zuhair, I walked past the body of Abi Abdullah and I couldn't help but I needed to cover his body. She said, may Allah grant you the highest levels of Jannah. You covered the body and what remained from Abu Abdullah Salamullahi alayh. At that time, As-Sayyida Zainab gathered all the women. She was looking for every one of them, making sure and tending to their care. However, she couldn't find one lady in particular. Where is the mother of the 6-month-old? Where is Rabab? No matter where she looked, she couldn't find her until she saw in the battlefield in the night one lady looking around. She went up to Lady Rabab. She said to her, "Oh, Abdullah, why are you looking in the field?" She says that now I have gotten some strength. I can feed my baby. I'm looking for him. Now I feel I can give him milk. Where is my baby boy? As-Sayyida Zainab alayha salam, she says, I had a troubling night. I couldn't sleep. But for a brief moment I saw in a small glimpse in my dream, I saw a horse rider approaching me, dressed in black. He came to me and I exclaimed, "O horse rider, do not harm us. We don't have anything to offer you." He said to her, "Ya Zainab, do you not recognize your father Ali?" She said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, let me tell you what just happened on this day." In that moment, they all gathered. After the time, they went and were taken captive to Kufa. When they entered the masjid of Kufa, before they got there, a young boy was following them, but not following the heads of Abu Abdullah nor his family. He was following one particular head. He was following the head of Habib ibn Mudahir. They asked him, "Oh young boy, who are you? And why do you trail the head of Habib?" He said, "I am Qasim, the son of Habib. My mother is asking me if I can confirm whether Habib died along Hussein. And now I see his head next to his head on the spears. I will go and inform my mother of what just happened." In that time, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad had the family of Imam al-Hussein sleep outside in near the gutters. But one man was responsible to carry the head of Imam al-Hussein. He was Khuwalla. He took the head and he kept it in his home. The next day they were supposed to meet Ubaydullah. However, they spent that night. The wife of Khuwalla, she exclaimed that when he returned, I asked him, "What did you bring from Karbala?" He says, "I brought nothing." She says, "That night I dreamt and I saw Bibi Zahra. She said to me, 'In your home, you have something that belongs to me. In your home, there is something that has shook the throne of Allah.'" She woke from her sleep and begged her husband, "Tell me what you brought." He then told her, "Look under your pillow." She looked and saw 2 earrings. She asked him, "Where did these come from?" He said, "I saw a young girl running and I wanted them from my girls, but they wouldn't come out, so I snatched them and tore them from her ear." And then she asked, but tell me, what did you bring? What else did you bring? He said, I didn't bring anything else. She said, I beg you, answer me. He said, go into the kitchen. I left something inside the oven. That's where you put a head. She then goes, she walks inside that kitchen and she sees a lady dressed in black. She says to her, oh lady, who are you? She says, I am the mother of this head. I am the mother of this head, and I am here to see why it is there. At that time, O mu'mineen, at the next day, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad summoned the family of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. When they were brought to his court, he wanted to add more insult onto injury. He looked at Lady Zainab and he looked at Imam Zain al-Abidin, and then he said, who are you? He said, I am Ali ibn al-Hussein. He said to him, we killed Ali in Karbala. They said, no, this is Ali Zain al-Abidin. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad said that now you must be killed, for Yazid would not approve or tolerate that we had one son from Hussein survive. If we even managed to kill his baby, why would we leave the elder Ali? And so the guards came to Imam Zain al-Abidin ready to kill him, but Sayyida Zainab stood between them, her arms protecting Imam, her arms protecting the Imam of her time. She said, then you must kill me first. Lady Zainab at that moment saved Islam. She then looked at Ubaydullah, he looked at her, and he wanted to insult her further. And so he said to her, Ya Zainab, كيف رأيت صنع الله بأخيك? How do you see how Allah has treated your brother? She then said the bone-chilling line, ما رأيت إلا جميلا. I saw nothing but beauty. Then the family of Sayyid al-Shuhada spent their time in Kufa. Lady Zainab gave her legendary sermon there. Then they were taken on their way to Sham. On their way, they passed by a monastery in the north of Iraq, in the city of Mosul, which was a predominantly Christian town. They stopped and they were told that we will seek rest by this church. They came to the monk of the church and they said to him, we will rest at your church if you grant us permission. The monk said, please go ahead. He asked for one request. I want to take care of that particular head that you bring. It has the sign of prophethood and it shines with the sign and glory of Allah. They said, fine, hold on to it, and next day we will take it from you. That night the Christian monk exclaims that I was looking at the head and staring at him. I've never seen more beautiful faces, a more beautiful face than this face, nor did I see a face that reminded me of Jesus, son of Mary. I looked at him and I said, oh man, I don't know who you are, but I ask you on Jesus, son of Mary, tell me, who are you? He said, I didn't hear a response. Then he asked him in a different way. He said, I ask you on behalf of Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, tell me, who are you? And then he reports, Shaykh al-Mufid in his ikhtasas mentions that the head of Abi Abdullah began to speak. He then said, oh Christian monk, if you thought that the companions of the cave, Ashab al-Kahf, was a big miracle of Allah, then look, I am the biggest miracle of Allah. They entered eventually the court of Sham, and they were greeted by the many. They were celebrating and partying and merrymaking and having the lavish time, and they were playing music left and center. And that's how they were received. When they entered that day, they were put into the cell before they were to meet Yazid. When they entered into their cell, the wife of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, who goes by the name of Hind bint Ubaidillah, then asked Yazid, as being the princess, she said, "Who are these people that we bring?" The people and Yazid exclaimed to her, "These are Khawarij. These are captives we got. They are from the city of Medina originally. She used to live in Medina and she missed it, so she wanted to go and see them and sit with them." She goes to one of the cells. She sees all the women with their disheveled look and tiredness. Our brother Imran said, "Tonight you were tired from all the long days you had. Look at the tired efforts. Look at the hard work of the ladies of Al Muhammad." As they were sitting all together, she looked at one of the women. She appeared to be the chief of these ladies. Out of respect to her, she sat on the floor and she asked her, "Oh, miss, tell me, I hear you guys are from Medina. I love Medina and I used to work there and particularly serve a home, the home of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and I want to ask you a few questions about the inhabitants of that home." This was Lady Zainab. She replied to her, "Go ahead and ask." This lady, the wife of Yazid, she replied and said, "I want to tell you and ask you, there was a young boy by the name of Abbas. He used to live in that house and I would serve. Whatever happened to him?" Sayyidah Zainab said, "If you look outside, there is the spear right there. That is Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas." She then asked her, tell me about the young Hussein." She said to her, "The head right next to his is the head of Hussein." She began to cry and then she asked her, "Oh lady, I ask you one more question. I want to know about Zainab al-Hashemiyya. Tell me what happened to Zainab the Hashemiyya." Sayyidah Zainab replied, "If you're asking me about Zainab al-Hashemiyya, I don't know where she is. But if you ask me about Zainab al-Masbiya, Zainab the captive, then here she is." This Hind stood up and began to cry. She ran to Yazid, rushing to him. Her hijab began to fall. Yazid looked at her and he said, "Watch out, your hijab is falling." She said, "How dare you?" She said, "How dare you? You ask me about my hijab. What about the hijab of the daughters of Rasulullah? What about the hijab of the daughters of Fatima al-Zahra? You ask me about my hijab. What about the hijab of the women of the Holy Prophet of Islam?" On that day, there was that young girl crying for her father. Yazid said, "I couldn't sleep that night from how much she would cry." He said, "Who is this?" They said, "That is the daughter of Hussein by the name of Ruqayya. She's asking for her father. She's 4. She doesn't know what's happening. She misses her dad." He says, "Then go ahead and bring her the head of her father." They bring her father's head in a pail and cover it with the cloth. As Sayyidah Ruqayya says, "I didn't ask for food when they present it." She says, "I want my father, Hussein." They remove the cloth. She sees the head of her father. She throws herself on the head as she begins to cry out, "Aba, Aba, man alladhi qata'a ra'sak?" "Father, Father, who was it that severed your head? أبا أبا من الذي أيتمني على صغر سني? Father, Father, who made us an orphan on this day? After a few minutes, the voice of Ruqayya stopped, and Imam Zainul Abidin looked at her. He then looked at Sayyida Zainab, and he said to her, Amma Zainab, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. At that moment, the nurse came to examine her and to begin washing her body. She then approached Sayyida Zainab and she asked her, I said, I cannot clean this body. Zainab said, why? She said, was she ill before she died? As Sayyida Zainab says, no, she wasn't. Why do you ask? She said, what are these blue marks all over her body? As Sayyida Zainab said, those are not the marks of an illness, rather those are the marks of the whips of Shamar ibn Dhul Jawshan. فأتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين. يا حسين يا حسين. All together, يا حسين.
يا حسين. ای شیعیون امشب شام غریبان است. ای شیعیون امشب شام غریبان است. ای شیعیون امشب شام غریبان است. جسم حسین اوریان اندر بیابان است. ای شیعیون شام غریبان است. ای شیعیون امشب شام غریبان. The sacred body of O Abba